The rain hammered against the windshield of my BMW like angry fists as I sat parked outside my office building in downtown San Francisco late that night. Suddenly a woman yanked open the passenger door and threw herself inside soaking wet and trembling. "Drive please, just drive, they're coming for me," she gasped, her voice breaking with pure terror. I didn't hesitate. My foot hit the gas, and the car surged forward into the slick streets, leaving the shadowy figures emerging from an alley behind us in the rearview mirror. My heart pounded, but my hands stayed steady on the wheel. Years of handling high-stakes cases had trained me for moments like this. "Who are they?" I asked, keeping my voice calm as I navigated through the traffic lights, turning onto a main road. She clutched the seat belt, her knuckles white, her dark hair plastered to her face. Her features were striking even in distress, high cheekbones, full lips, and eyes that held a depth of pain I recognized all too well. "My family," she whispered. "They found out about me, and now they want to force me into a marriage with some man I barely know. I can't do what I want." I glanced at her quickly before focusing back on the road. The city lights reflected off the wet pavement, creating a blurry neon world around us. "What's your name?" I asked softly, trying to ground her. "Aurora," she replied, her accent a soft blend of American with hints of her heritage. "Aurora Nguyen. I've been running for hours. I thought if I could just disappear for a night, maybe find a way out." She looked at me, then really looked, her eyes widening slightly. "Wait, who are you? Why did you help me without asking questions?" My lips curved into a small ironic smile. "Veronica Hale. And let's just say I have a habit of helping women in your exact situation." We drove in silence for a few blocks, the only sound the swish of wipers and her ragged breathing. I could feel the weight of her gaze on me, the mix of fear and tentative hope. "You don't understand," she continued, her words tumbling out. "My family is traditional Vietnamese immigrants. They built everything here through hard work and connections. To them, being lesbian is a disgrace, a phase, or worse, something to be fixed by marriage and family pressure. They arranged this union with the son of a business partner to strengthen ties and save face. When I refused and admitted the truth, they locked me in my room, threatened to cut me off completely. Tonight I escaped during a family gathering, but they sent people after me." I nodded, absorbing every detail. This wasn't new to me. Over the past 8 years as a family law attorney, I'd specialized in cases just like this, protecting LGBTQ women, especially from immigrant or conservative backgrounds who faced arranged or forced marriages. I'd won landmark cases, helped women reclaim their lives, but each one took a piece of me: the emotional toll, the threats from angry families, the moral weight of tearing apart what society called sacred bonds. "You picked the right car tonight, Aurora," I said, finally pulling into a quieter residential street and parking under a large tree for cover. "I'm not just some good Samaritan. I'm a lawyer. I specialize in protecting women like you from exactly this kind of family coercion. We can file for a restraining order, start building a case to prove duress and lack of consent. If you're over 18 and they're using force or threats, we have grounds." Her eyes filled with tears, but this time they were different, a mix of relief and disbelief. "You're kidding, right? A lawyer who specializes in lesbians escaping forced marriages, what are the odds?" "Slim," I admitted, "but here we are. Listen, you need a safe place tonight. I have a friend who runs a shelter for at-risk women. No questions asked. Tomorrow we can talk strategy. But I need to know, are you sure this is what you want? Because once we start this fight, there's no going back. Families like yours don't let go easily. You'll lose relationships, maybe financial support, the life you knew." Aurora leaned back, closing her eyes for a moment. The rain continued its steady rhythm on the roof. "I don't have a choice, Veronica. Staying means living a lie, marrying a man I could never love while my heart belongs to someone else. Someone I had to push away to protect. But running means losing my parents, my siblings, the culture that shaped me. It's tearing me apart inside." I felt a familiar ache in my chest. Her words echoed my own clients' stories and my personal ghosts. Years ago I'd lost my first love to similar pressures, though mine was different. Watching her family turn on her because of who she loved had broken something in me. That's why I did this work, to give others the fighting chance I wished I'd had. We sat there for a while, the car a temporary sanctuary. I handed her my jacket to warm up, and she accepted it gratefully, wrapping it around her shoulders. The faint scent of her perfume mixed with rain filled the space between us, a subtle reminder of the human connection at the heart of all this drama. "Tell me more about your family," I prompted gently. "The more I know, the better I can help." She took a deep breath and began to speak, her voice gaining strength as she recounted the years of subtle pressures, the comments about settling down, the blind dates that weren't so blind, the discovery of her orientation through a hidden relationship that ended badly when the other woman chose safety over love, the ultimatum that came last month when her father announced the engagement without her consent. As she talked, I took mental notes, planning the legal moves, injunctions against harassment, documentation of threats. But beneath the professional detachment, a personal pull stirred. Aurora was resilient, beautiful in her vulnerability, and the fire in her eyes spoke of a woman ready to fight for her truth despite the cost. By the time we reached the shelter on the outskirts of the city, the rain had eased into a drizzle. I walked her inside, making sure she was settled with the discreet staff ID worked with before. Before leaving, I gave her my card. Call me first thing in the morning, Aurora. This is just the beginning, but you're not alone anymore. She grabbed my hand briefly, her touch warm and electric. Thank you, Veronica. I don't know why the universe put you in that parking lot tonight, but I'm grateful. For the first time in months, I feel like I might actually have a chance. Driving home alone later that night, the weight of what I'd stepped into settled on my shoulders. Another case, another life on the line. But something about Aurora felt different, deeper. Little did I know how profoundly this encounter would challenge not just my skills as a lawyer, but my own beliefs about family, loyalty, love, and the price of freedom. The morning light filtered through the blinds of my office as I reviewed case files, the steam from my coffee cup curling upward like unanswered questions. My phone buzzed at exactly 8:30. Aurora's voice came through, steady but laced with the same quiet desperation from the night before. Veronica, I spent the night thinking. If you're serious about helping me, I'll do whatever it takes. I told her to meet me at the shelter in an hour and hung up, my mind already racing through the steps ahead. When I pulled up, she was waiting on the curb, her hair pulled back in a simple ponytail, wearing borrowed clothes from the shelter that somehow still made her look poised and beautiful. She slid into the passenger seat with a small nod of thanks, and we drove the short distance to my downtown office in silence, the tension from last night still thick in the air. Once inside, I closed the door behind us and gestured to the leather chair across from my desk. Let's start from the beginning, Aurora. I need every detail, names, dates, threats, everything. She sat down, folding her hands in her lap, and began to lay it all out. Her family had immigrated when she was 10, building a successful import business that now spanned 3 states. Her father was the patriarch demanding perfection, her mother the quiet enforcer who used guilt like a weapon. When they discovered her relationship with a woman from college 2 years ago, they had ended it by threatening to cut off her college funds and spread rumors that ruined the other woman's reputation. Now the arranged marriage to a family friend was their final solution, a way to bury the shame and secure a merger. Aurora spoke of the nights she cried alone, the fear that she was betraying her roots by wanting to love freely. I listened, jotting notes, my professional mask firmly in place, but inside her story stirred old wounds. I had built my career on these battles, winning restraining orders, exposing coercion in courtrooms across California. Yet every victory came with a cost, clients who lost, family ties forever, the sleepless nights wondering if I was the hero or the destroyer. As Aurora talked, I found myself studying the way her eyes softened when she mentioned the woman she once loved, the subtle tremble in her voice when she described her mother's tears. There was a connection forming, something beyond the case, a shared understanding of what it meant to hide who you were. We spent the next hours drafting the initial paperwork, a petition for a temporary restraining order based on the threats and the forced engagement. I explained the process, the court hearing, the need for evidence like text messages and witness statements. Aurora nodded, absorbing it all, but when I asked if she had anyone who could testify, her face fell. My best friend from high school knows everything, but she's scared of my family. They have influence in our community. If she speaks out, she could lose her job, her place in the circle. The weight of that statement hung between us. I leaned forward, my voice low. This is where it gets real, Aurora. Fighting means choosing yourself over everything they built for you. Are you prepared for the backlash, the isolation, the whispers that you'll never be Vietnamese enough again? She met my gaze, her eyes searching mine. I don't know, Veronica. Part of me wants to run back, apologize, beg for forgiveness, live the lie, and keep my family. But the other part, the one that knows I can't love a man the way they want me to, that part is screaming to break free. What if I'm making the biggest mistake of my life? What if they're right and this is just a phase that will destroy us all? Her words hit hard because they echoed the doubts I had buried after my own past. I reached across the desk and covered her hand with mine for a brief moment, the touch sending an unexpected warmth through me. You're not alone in that doubt. Every woman I've helped has faced it. The question is which voice you listen to, the one shaped by fear or the one shaped by truth. We broke for lunch, ordering takeout from a nearby Vietnamese spot, ironically the same cuisine that tied her to the world she was fleeing. Over pho and spring rolls, the conversation shifted from legal strategy to something more personal. Aurora asked about my life, how I got into this line of work. I told her the edited version, the passion for justice, the cases that kept me going, but left out the part where my own mother had disowned me for a year after I came out. The attraction between us was growing, subtle glances, lingering touches, the way she smiled when I made a light joke to ease the tension. By late afternoon we had a solid plan of action. I would file the petition first thing Monday and arrange a safe house if needed. As I walked her back to the shelter, the sun was setting over the bay, casting golden light on the streets. Aurora stopped at the door, turning to me. "Thank you for today, Veronica. For seeing me not as a problem but as a person. I don't know what I would have done without you last night." I smiled back, feeling the pull stronger now. "Get some rest. Tomorrow we fight." But as I drove away, the question swirled. Was I helping her or pulling her into a storm that would scar her forever? Was the spark I felt professional compassion or something more dangerous, a line I swore I'd never cross with a client? The weekend passed in a blur of preparations, phone calls to potential allies, and quiet moments where I replayed Aurora's words in my head. Monday morning I filed the petition, the clerk stamping it with a finality that sent a shiver down my spine. By noon Aurora was in my office again, her face pale from a sleepless night. "They called me Veronica. My sister left a voicemail saying Mom is sick with worry that if I don't come home the family business will suffer, and it's all my fault. How do I live with that?" I pulled up a chair beside her, the closeness intentional now, as I tried to offer comfort without crossing into territory that could compromise the case. "You live with it by remembering that their pain is real, but so is yours. Forcing you into a marriage isn't love, it's control. We have the law on our side, but the real battle is in here." I tapped my temple gently. "The guilt, the shame, the fear of losing everything, you know." She nodded, tears welling, but she blinked them back. We spent the afternoon reviewing evidence, texts from her father demanding she attend the engagement party, photos of the locked room where they had confined her. As we worked, the conversation turned deeper, Aurora sharing stories of her childhood, in the tight-knit community festivals, family dinners, where silence about her feelings became the norm. I shared pieces of my own journey, the college years when I realized my truth, the first relationship that taught me love could be both liberating and terrifying. The attraction was undeniable now, small moments like our fingers brushing over documents, the way her laugh filled the room when I shared a funny court story. But I held back, reminding myself of the ethics, the power imbalance. That evening as I drove her to a new safe location, a friend's apartment, the tension peaked. A car followed us for several blocks, its headlights too close for comfort. Aurora gripped my arm, her nails digging in. "They found me again, didn't they?" I accelerated, turning sharply down a side street, losing the tail, but the scare left us both shaken. At the apartment we sat on the couch reviewing the day, the adrenaline making us honest. "Veronica, what if I can't do this? What if the guilt wins and I go back? They'll never forgive me if I fight, but if I don't, I'll never forgive myself." Her voice cracked, the inner conflict raw and exposed. I took her hand this time, holding it longer, the warmth spreading through me. "You're stronger than you know, Aurora. I've seen women break under less, but you're fighting for your future. The price is high, family ties broken, hearts scarred. But the alternative is a lifetime of pretending. Is that the legacy you want to leave?" She leaned into me, her head resting on my shoulder. For a brief moment the contact electric yet innocent. "I don't know anymore. All I know is that with you I feel seen for the first time." The night ended with her promising to stay strong, but as I left the doubts gnawed at me. Was I pushing her too hard for my own satisfaction, or was this the only path to her freedom? The societal prejudice loomed, large whispers in the community about broken families, the pressure from conservative circles that viewed our work as destruction rather than rescue. The betrayal came on a Wednesday afternoon when my phone rang with an unknown number. Aurora's brother on the line, his voice calm but edged with steel. "We know who you are, Veronica Hale. Stop interfering or we'll make sure your career ends. We have connections too." Then the real blow, Aurora's best friend had cracked under family pressure, leaking details of our strategy to them. The safe house location, the petition filing. Aurora sat across from me in the office, her face crumbling as I relayed the news. How could she do that? She knew how much this meant. The moral dilemma hit me hard. Should I tell Aurora to confront her past or shield her from more pain? The family had used cultural duty to twist the knife, her mother sending messages about honor, and the pain of a daughter who chose selfishness over blood. We spent hours in heated discussion, Aurora pacing the room, her inner turmoil spilling out. Maybe they're right, Veronica. Maybe I'm the one destroying everything. My mother raised me, sacrificed for me, and now I'm throwing it away for what? A life where I might end up alone. The guilt is eating me alive. I see their faces every night, the disappointment, the shame. I felt the weight of my role, the choice to continue or step back. Betrayal from within her circle made the case harder, but it also strengthened my resolve. We adjusted the plan, moving her to a new location, filing additional motions. But the personal cost mounted, Aurora questioning every decision, her attraction to me complicating the emotions. One evening after a long session, she hugged me tightly, whispering, "Thank you," the embrace lingering, the romantic tension undeniable yet restrained. The confrontation escalated when her mother showed up at my office unannounced, begging me to let her daughter go. The scene was raw, the older woman tears streaming as she spoke of lost grandchildren, cultural erasure. I stood firm, explaining the law, but inside the words stung. Was I the villain in their story, the outsider tearing apart a family for an ideal? Aurora chose to stay, fighting the decision costing her a final call from her father, disowning her in a voice filled with rage. The sacrifice was real, her world shrinking but her spirit growing. Yet the doubt remained for both of us, the moral line blurred between help and interference. The court date approached, the tension unbearable. Aurora spent nights at the safe house wrestling with nightmares, the psychological toll evident in her tired eyes and restless pacing. I visited daily, bringing food, notes of encouragement, but the attraction had deepened into something I could no longer ignore. One night she confessed the feelings, the way my presence made her believe in a future beyond the pain. I admitted the same, but we agreed to wait the case first. The moral dilemmas peaked when a former client reached out, warning me that pushing too hard could lead to violence from Aurora's family. I questioned my choices. Was I risking her safety for my principles? The societal bias was everywhere, news stories of similar cases ending in tragedy, the prejudice against lesbian women in immigrant communities. Aurora faced her own crisis, nearly returning home after a tearful call from her sister, but I talked her through it, reminding her of the woman she wanted to be. The preparation for court was grueling, gathering affidavits, practicing testimony, the cost and emotional energy immense. Aurora sacrificed her last ties, sending a letter to her family explaining her truth, the act both liberating and devastating. As the hearing loomed, the stakes higher than ever, my own reputation on the line, whispers in legal circles about my personal involvement. The choice was clear, fight or fold, but the price was the potential loss of everything for both of us. The courtroom was packed, the air thick with anticipation as the judge called the case. Aurora stood beside me, her hand brushing mine under the table, the silent support giving her strength. Her family sat on the other side, their faces a mix of anger and sorrow, the cultural divide laid bare. I presented the evidence, the threats, the coercion, the clear lack of consent, the judge nodding as the facts unfolded. Aurora took the stand, her voice steady as she spoke of the years of pressure, the forced silence, the moment she chose truth over tradition. The cross-examination was brutal, her father testifying about family honor, the mother weeping about lost dreams. The betrayal from her friend was addressed, the judge ruling in our favor, granting the restraining order, and declaring the engagement invalid. Outside the courthouse, Aurora turned to me, tears of relief and grief mixing on her face. I did it, Veronica. It chose me. But the cost, my family may never speak to me again. We walked to my car, the city buzzing around us, the future uncertain but open. Over the following weeks she rebuilt, slowly finding new community support, the budding relationship between us blossoming into quiet dates, shared laughs, and the promise of something real. The scars remained, the family disownment a constant ache, the societal judgment lingering in sidelong glances. Yet Aurora thrived, her strength inspiring me to reflect on my own path. In helping her, I had confronted my deepest questions about loyalty and love. In the end, was I right to help Aurora shatter her family bonds for her truth, or did I play God with lives that weren't mine to save? What would you have done in her place or mine?